If you can believe it, I've had this box sitting around for about a month. I bought it on Crutchfield, and you know, I have like a 60-day return policy. So I'm thinking, man, the time clock's ticking. I better get this thing open, even though the room is sort of, you know, still a bit of a mess. If you can, as you can see, I just got cables everywhere. I'm just trying to get the, you know, the rack back there done, and you know, availability for the folks that actually have been working on it has been like spotty at best, and that's generous. But as you can see, I've mapped out the location for like acoustic panels in the future. All right, well, let me get this thing open, get it out of the box, and then I'll show you what's inside the box.
What's in the box? Who's in the box?
What's in the box?
So this was another outlet deal. I think this receiver usually goes for about $2,100. I think I paid over $1,800 for it after like, it was like another scratch and dent. If you've been watching the channel, my Anthem was famously a scratch and dent one, which ended up costing me only $3,000. I just got lucky, but it actually was perfectly fine, to be honest. I didn't see any scratches or dents. You can check out that video if you want. But let me get this thing out of here. That's why it says outlet on the box. There you go. As you can see, it's 5000 ES there. And yeah, the box has seen better, but I don't care about the box. I care about what's inside. So let's get it open. So as you can see, Crutchfield does a pretty good job at like repackaging stuff. Not sure if this is how it came from the factory, but looks good to me. I guess this is a box of accessories and stuff. I'll check that out later. Everything appears to be in good condition as far as the packaging. So let's get this thing out of here. By the way, I should mention this thing just really weighs a ton. It's like 40 pounds or more. So it's a heavy unit. Get this out of here. Have to pick all that stuff up. You know, my guess is this unit, it looks perfectly good, but let's pull it out and see. That's heavy. Pretty heavy. Nothing else in the box, we're good. Okay, so I believe I found the scratch. The only scratch that I've seen, I don't know if you can see it in camera, but there it is. I'll keep inspecting the unit, but if that's the scratch, I think that's, in my opinion, that's worth a $250 discount. Easy. I have no issues with that. But I'll keep seeing and see if I can see anything else. The front looks fine. Thankfully, they do include a cover that, you know, that sort of hides this stuff. I think it's probably in that accessories box, which I'll check out later. But obviously you got the power button, you got your different input buttons. I do like discrete input buttons more than like the turn wheel. A lot of receivers just have a wheel to select the input. It is somewhat of a cleaner look, but I think there's no ambiguity to what you're selecting. If you want, you know, video, aux, or TV, you just hit the button and you're there. I sort of prefer that. It's a little more old school, but old school sometimes works. Just like how they're eliminating buttons in cars. Buttons, there's nothing wrong with buttons, especially, you know, with this one, you can actually cover everything up. You know, power button, you got the calibration mic input, a USB-A jack there. I guess it's a 0.5 amp, so nothing too powerful. So you got your zone buttons, like I said, input buttons. You can select your tuning mode, so that does have a tuner, obviously. Bluetooth button, test tone button, and pure direct button. That is if you want to have like a more unprocessed sound. You hit the pure direct button, and that it bypasses processing within the receiver itself. Display button, I'm guessing, gives you on-screen information, or maybe on the little LED LCD panel here. Obviously a D-pad for navigating the menu system. You got a menu button here, options, and I don't know what tone mode is. I'm not, you know, again, I haven't played with this, but I guess my guess is this 360 SSM is like their spatial audio button. I think if you hit that, it kind of goes into one of those, you know, it uses it could be that thing where it like it virtualizes extra speakers in your system. So if you don't have surround backs, it can virtualize surround backs. That's my guess, but again, haven't played with it, so you'll have to wait for my full review on that one. So let's turn it around. It's probably much more interesting in the back. All right, so here we are. We got the back here. We got the looks like USB and Wi-Fi antennas. It looks like we have 4K, 8K capable inputs, HDMI inputs, 2 extra like 4K ones, so you got 6 total, and then you have 2 outs. I typically only use 1 out. I'm not a big fan of zone 2s out of receivers. I always recommend getting a separate, cheaper receiver if you want another zone. That's just me. It's a huge pain, and you don't ever get the whole. If you want to have another surround system, you're going to need to do that anyway. But do whatever you want. So you got trigger outs. You got 3. Looks like you have 3 trigger outs, which is great if you want to connect to an external amp, and some remote. Looks like some remote jacks here. An RS-232, which is also for home automation. Optical outs. You got 2 optical outs and 1 coax out, digital audio out. These are digital audios. You got 1 Ethernet jack here. Looks like we have some legacy audio analog inputs there. FM antenna, of course, and we have some pre-outs here. Looks like we have. Let me see. 10. Looks like we have 11 pre-outs. That's the center, and there's the 2 subs down there. I'm not entirely sure if these subs are discrete or not. I guess we'll see. They may be not, maybe they're not. I'm not, to be honest, I'm not sure. Don't particularly care that much if they are, or if they aren't. It is a nice to have, but again, it's not what I was going for that room. So we have speaker binding posts here, and like good quality. They sort of remind me of the ones that I had in my old Pioneer, which unfortunately is, or it's okay. Which I left behind in the old house, which was part of the whole sale of the house. I just left the theater set up for the new owner. And so it looks like we have some legacy composite video here, and not too much. It looks like just 1 or 2 inputs and a couple of outputs there. I mean, nobody really uses these anymore, really. I just use HDMIs, and I rarely use like analog input. In fact, I probably never do at this point. I do in my other room where I have my like vintage stereo. But yeah, pretty good. Not crazy full of stuff. Unfortunately, there is no phono input. So if you're looking for using this for like a record player, you just don't have one. So, but again, not what I was going for that room. But anyway, it looks pretty good. Good, and the weight of this thing it feels like a quality amplifier, and I bet it's very powerful. I don't know if you can see that, but it does say, if you look at the power supply there, it actually does say ES on it, which is a nice touch. You can barely make it out. You probably can't see it with the camera, but you can see ES there and Sony, which is kind of cool. This is the little accessories box. This will kind of give you an idea how well Crutchfield repackages stuff. Everything appears to be exactly where you would expect it to be. Probably where it was from the factory. I'm assuming that these were used at some point and put back. This looks like the special mic. It looks like a stereo mic, as you can see. It says left and right. This is the calibration mic for the unit. So you'd use that to calibrate it using their room calibration system, which I have not used, so I can't comment on it right now. Looks like you got documentation here. This looks like a mic stand there, but I'm not sure. And my guess is, looks like it's part of the microphone stand thing. This looks like this is the front panel, which I'll probably put on at some later point. Obviously, you got a power cable, which is a 3-prong. No, it's not. It's not 3-prong. I'm sorry. It's not a 3-prong power cable, so it's not grounded. Today, I'm gonna set up my my new Sony receiver, 5000 ES receiver, and I'm actually gonna do this place is a mess, and I've been delaying like crazy to do this setup because I wanted to clean up this place, but it's taking too long. But you'll just have to forgive the mess. I'm still working on this room. But anyway, so I have an 11 channel system, or a 7.2.4 system, or I guess 7.1.4 technically, because this receiver doesn't have independent subwoofer outputs, which I'm fine, whatever. And I got a couple So I got my satellite speakers up there, and the front stage is pretty, you know, I got speakers in the back there and over here and all the way on the top there so it's a pretty interesting setup based on mostly satellite speakers, which is going to be cool. But anyway, I'm going to attempt to set this up. I've never done this before. Again, I'm not an expert on this, but I'm going to try to show you how I do it, and maybe you can learn something from it. But let me plug in the microphone for now and see what that does. There we go. Microphone's in. And let's start the process. So if you look at the microphone that's included, there's gonna be something that says right and left. Obviously, you're gonna put the left side to the left of your room over there, and to the right will be pointing here. And you're gonna generally get it to your listening position at about ear level. So forgive me if it doesn't look perfect here. I couldn't quite get it aligned. I don't have a coffee table in here anymore. But so right now I'm going to select easy setup mode here in the receiver and do English. And I'm going to do auto calibration and hit start. I'm going to save it to preset 1. And I don't have wireless speakers, so I'm going to skip that. And I'm going to skip use TV as center because I have a center channel speaker. So I have surround back speaker, so I'm going to select surround back. And height, I'm going to use height 1, so I'm going to select height 1s. And I'm going to use height 2s, so I'm going to select height 2s as well. Obviously, if you don't have height speakers, you wouldn't select this, but I do. I have all 11 channels that this receiver can support. So this is you're gonna set up your bed layer or your ear level channels, and I have 7.1, so I'm gonna go ahead and hit 7.1. And I have front high plus rear height speakers, but you can change that to, you know, overhead, and there's so many different options you can do. This is like the speakers that bounce off the ceiling, but I'm just gonna go ahead and select what I have, which is front high and rear high. This is going to help you connect the speakers, speaker connection guide. It's just going to walk you through how to connect everything, make sure everything's connected properly. I've already verified that everything's connected properly, so I'm fine. So I'm going to hit back and hit skip. This is basically telling you the tools that you need to perform this auto cal. You're going to need a measuring tape or a laser measuring tool of some sort. And this will help make the auto cal as accurate as possible. So this is basically telling you to measure from the TV screen all the way to your listening position. This receiver has there's a little bit of manual measuring. Most of it is done automatically, but the more accurate that you can be with these, the better. It just enhances the experience. That's what I've heard with these. I'm gonna go ahead and measure this manually with my trusty measuring tape here, and I'll continue in a sec. I measured 7 feet 2 inches. Again, this is not the biggest room. It's going to ask you to measure the distance from the floor to your listening position. So let me go ahead and do that. You know, it was actually pretty close. Mine was 3 feet 8 inches approximately, but if you left it at 310, it would probably be okay. So I'm going to do ceiling height. I have a 9-foot ceiling in here, so no change is required. Here I gotta select this, so let me measure the screen height here. So you're just gonna measure from the floor all the way up to that green line. I think I already did this, but I'm gonna double check. So I had already performed this measurement at some other point, I think just manually, and it's correct. So I'm gonna go ahead and keep going. And you're gonna click save, you're gonna save to preset 1. And here we go, mic calibration. So we're gonna need the microphone obviously, and make sure it's all connected properly, and use since this is like a specialized microphone, as I showed earlier, you sort of need to use the attachment that it came with. So just to know that both of these little attachments have the little cutout that you need for the specialized microphone. This one just happened to be the perfect height to get to ear level for some reason without having to use the little extender in my tripod here. So just my luck, I decided to record this the day that we have people cleaning in the house. So just, you know, don't do this if there's a lot of, you know, ambient noise and, you know, if there's like a lot of people making a lot of noise. You want it to be as quiet as possible. I'm gonna go forward and I'll probably redo it later, but just don't, you know, you need a quiet room. Obviously, you're gonna get better results, but I'll just redo it later on when it's quiet. But I just want to go forward with the video recording here. So this is basically telling you where to put the microphone and stuff. It's really great that they give you this information. I just sort of figured it out on my own. It's pretty intuitive. If you've done this kind of thing before, you could probably figure it out, but they hold your hand and walk you through it, which is great. So if you've never done this before, read all the instructions and you should be okay. And just follow what the screen tells you. So let's hit next. And we're gonna do the first measurement again. Super noisy. Do it when the room is quiet. I'm just gonna go ahead anyway. Now I understand why there's a second position here. Now you're just gonna. Now you have to put the microphone on the lower position. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. If you look at the picture, you're going from the top to the bottom. So I positioned the microphone. So let's hit start, and it's gonna start measuring again. Again, super noisy. Wait till it's quiet. So I'm just gonna go ahead and hit save, and I guess this is telling me the results of everything. As you can see here, those are the distances that it measured automatically. Obviously I inputted some distances, but from the information I entered into the receiver, it used its measurements and came up with these numbers. And these are the levels that it came up with. Pretty much, some of them are 0 dB, some are a little less, like the center is a little less. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit save. I'll check these numbers later on after post measurement. Again, I'm going to rerun the whole thing because it's so noisy. So this is like the speaker relocation. I'm gonna go ahead and try it. You can turn it off and on and see if you notice a difference. I'm gonna turn it on. I've heard good things. I'm going to just do engineer, and I'll do, activate calibration matching. I'll do that. Again, you can toggle this on and off later on if you want to, and see if you like it or not. And this is a special mapping demo. I haven't even seen this, so let's check it out. I actually got to sit down and check this out. So I just heard the demo. It sounded pretty sweet. I really liked it. So I'm going to hit finish. And I'm going to leave auto calibration on. And I guess I'm assuming internet settings could be if you want to have somebody work on this thing remotely, like some kind of calibrator guy. I'm going to just use auto cal. Although I do like the aesthetics of this thing, I guess one of my gripes was, you know, even though I do like the minimalistic look of this panel, I do wish it was just they could have maybe just had the little flap that comes down, because this pops out really easily. And obviously, all the buttons are hidden, which is kind of cool, and you probably don't need to access this very often, so you can just keep this on. So which is how I usually use it. I just leave it on, and it really looks sleek and modern, right? And minimalistic. And I get one of my few gripes that I have of the unit. And I do like the size of it. It just looks big and beefy, and I just like these 8-inch chassis like receivers or pieces of equipment. They just look powerful. Like they look like they get the job done, and it certainly does. But I guess, you know, aesthetics wise, you know, a lot of people complain that it looks like the old ones that Sony makes, but you know, how much can you change? I think what's important is what's inside and the features that it has. So that's what I value the most. I don't necessarily care about what the receiver looks like. If you do, then, you know, maybe go look at a Marantz or something. But yeah, those are my thoughts on aesthetic. Those are my thoughts on aesthetics. So in this video, I want to talk about my new 5000 ES 11-channel Sony receiver. And I want to give you my full thoughts on it. I've had the receiver for about 2 months now, and I feel like I got a really good feel for it. I already went through the setup process. You know, I've given it a good listen. I've played games on it. I've watched, you know, some movies, watched a lot of TV shows on it. The setup process was pretty painless. Sony does a really good job. It has a pretty good on-the-screen display. I gotta admit, the setup process was easy. It was like very guided, and you can, if you follow the instructions, it's all like on, you know, it has it's all explained to you pretty well, and that's very helpful. It was pretty unique to have to change the microphone from like one position to the other, which is like separated, I guess, to get a better 3D mapping, you could say, of the sound in your room. And I set this receiver up in my office, and I have an 11-channel system in my office with 2 subs. So long story short, this thing is incredible. It is arguably the most immersive experience that I've had outside of this particular theater. This theater is on a whole different level. For an 11-channel system, it is pretty amazing. Its ability to just place objects very accurately within the space is, I've never quite experienced anything quite that good. You know, I think I can vouch for any other reviewer that said that, you know, that stands behind the product. I'm a believer. I think Sony, their 3D mapping technology is incredible. So that's number one. Some people complain that aesthetically that it looks very similar to the last set of ES receivers, and I could care less, to be honest. I don't care. All I care about is performance, what the receiver can do. The aesthetics of the receiver are secondary to me. And I actually have this receiver like on top of my media cabinet, so it is front and center, and I'm looking at this thing and I like it. I just keep the front panel that blocks all the buttons, the buttons that you're not using all the time, and I think it looks pretty sleek and it looks minimalist, it looks modern, and I have no complaints in that regard. I think it's a really good looking receiver. So I've listened to some music on it, quite impressed. You know, if you play like classical music, you can hear orchestral sounds throughout the room very, very well. You know, jazz. I mean, if you're a jazz fan, I think you're going to be very pleased. I am. I like jazz. You know, depending on what speakers you use, your mileage may vary. In that particular room, I'm using, it's sort of like my satellite system build. I'm using nothing but DevTech, you know, repurposed DevTech speakers that I already had, that are not, you know, so I'm not using tower speakers or any like big bookshelves. I'm using small speakers, and I got them, you know, connected with a couple of pretty good subs, and I love the system. I think it's really good. So I have no complaints there. So as far as gaming, my office is pretty much my gaming room. That's where I play the majority of my games, and it works. It supports everything. It supports 8K, 4K 120, so no problem there. I don't even, my particular TV is a Vizio, and it doesn't support 4K 120 or 8K. It's a 4K 60 display, and that's I'm completely fine with that. But everything I've thrown at it, it works great. You know, it allows the TV to switch to game mode automatically. It supports VRR, which, you know, allows the TV to match the frame rate that the console can actually spit out. It's a very worthwhile gaming feature. I've tried just using pure Dolby Atmos, but I always go back to putting their proprietary like up mixer. I just kind of put it back on because I think it's not just a gimmick. I think it really does enhance the presentation. I really do like it. But yeah, I mean, overall, those are my thoughts. I think the receiver is fantastic. It's one of the cheapest 11-channel receivers you can buy. I think it's about $2,100. I paid a little less. I paid about $1,800 because I bought an open box model from Crutchfield. And obviously, if you can get one, actually no, I think it was a scratch and dent. To be honest, I think it was a scratch and dent, and it had the tiniest little scratch on the unit couldn't care less about it. Unit works great. I'm perfectly happy with it. I actually do have one complaint. My one complaint is that it doesn't have independent subwoofer outputs, but it is, given the price point of the receiver, I can sort of forgive that, given that it is an 11-channel receiver. You know, I can play a little bit with sub placement, and I can play a little bit with phase, and I can, you know, I can work around it. I don't think it's that bad. But, I mean, it is still over $2,000, so I think they should have found a way to have independent sub outputs. So I'm just going to give it a little bit of a ding for that, but other than that, I think the receiver's fantastic, and given the price point, I think Sony hit it out of the park.
Hey, we've got a problem here.
This is Houston. Say again, please.
Houston, we have a problem.
We have a new problem with this receiver. Here, let's plug it in. Check that out. That's not good. Hello. Hello. So this is the first review that I've ever done on a receiver. I've actually had to do a second unboxing of a receiver because the Sony did experience I would say a major problem. I sent it into Sony for warranty repair. It was still under warranty, so it was all good. I think there's 5 years of warranty on this thing, and I just got it back. So let me do a second unboxing and we'll test it out together. Guy open. So at the very least, they sent me a box because I'd already thrown out the box. So let's see what we got here. It's including, I guess this must be the stuff that I sent over. They did, when they did send me the box, they sent me, one thing to note was the foam that they included was not cut to the correct size, so I had to like trim it like crazy to get it to fit. But I did get it to work. Here they sent me my power cable again. And I guess it says this unit has passed our QC check. All features are fully functional, thank you. And this is from, I guess it's from UnitedRadio.com, which is, I guess, one of the Sony's warranty service places. So let's get it out, and can't wait to test it out. And you know, because this receiver was actually really good. Here's plastic off here. Pretty sure this is the same unit. They didn't send me a new one. So yeah, this did have a pretty serious problem. I'm kind of curious to see, I mean, they say it's working, so let's check it out. Yeah, this is definitely my unit. I remember the little scratch here, which, I mean, there it is, the little scratch from my little scratch and dent deal. I don't think this scratch and dent deal had anything to do with this unit failing. It was probably just bad luck. I guess I'll give you my final thoughts after I fully test this thing. Well, all I did was plug it in, and you can see a vast improvement. Before, it was just clicking on and off wouldn't stop. I probably already showed you the clip of how it looked, but so plugged it in, it's turning on, look like it's doing its first startup thing. I don't know if they reset this whole thing to factory, so I may have to redo all my calibration and all that. So, but this looks good to go. Can't wait to plug this thing back in. I just got back the Sony receiver from warranty service. I guess what you probably are guessing is, does my recommendation or all the things that I just said about the unit, which were mostly positive, do I still think it's valid? Or I guess you could say, does my opinion of it still remain the same? So I'm gonna say mostly yes. Is it a bummer that it broke? Absolutely, it's a bummer. It sucked. I hate having to disconnect everything. Thankfully, I have extra receivers lying around, and it wasn't that bad. But for somebody that this could be their main unit, it could be a huge pain in the ass. You're out of a receiver for. It took me since the issue started, which it basically happened. It was like a pop. I was just watching like Netflix with my little daughter. She was in the room, but I think it was like a kids show or something. It wasn't even that loud. I was playing it like at very, very like low volume, just because my daughter was in the room. and all of a sudden I hear a pop, and it was like pop, and then loud sound through the speakers and through the subs, and then nothing. It just started clicking on and off like that, like I just showed you in the clip, and that was it. And I disconnected everything. I did all the usual troubleshooting. I took it off. I thought maybe there's something wrong with this power receptacle or something, so I took it to another area of the house and plugged it in. Same issue. I couldn't do anything about it. There was no resetting it. It just would not turn on. It would just click off immediately, and it was like on a loop. So then I was like, okay, so this receiver's dead. I just concluded there was nothing I could do, so I just called. Thankfully, obviously, the receiver was under warranty, so I called Sony, and they, I explained the issue to the customer service rep, and they immediately they submitted the RMA, for me not to return it, but the warranty claim or whatever. They started the warranty, I guess, case or whatever. I don't remember how they put it, and they sent me instructions, and then this United Services place sent me a box. I packaged it, sent it to them, and I think within a week they were done and sent it back to me. So I guess from beginning to end, it was about a 3-week to 4-week period of no receiver, which is not unreasonable. It's not an instant thing. It takes time. It took me about a week to get it out and get it packaged. I probably could have gotten the receiver out to them even faster. I would say minimum 2 weeks to 4 weeks it could probably take you if you do have an issue with your receiver. So does the fact that it broke change my opinion? I would say it's pretty much the same. I wouldn't worry too much. Things happen. Electronics break sometimes, and it's not if it breaks, it's how the company resolves the issue. And I feel pretty, my experience is pretty, I would say, positive. They took care of their issue, they fixed it, they sent it back to me, and it appears to work. So, and it was like no questions asked kind of thing. They just helped me out. So I think that was overall a positive warranty experience. I was planning on posting this video a while ago, and I guess this issue has happened, so I figured I'll just include this in video and as part of my ownership experience, and so you get the full gamut of of everything that happened. So it was just a coincidence that it broke, and thankfully it was under warranty and they took care of it, so the unit's working fine. So I'm gonna stand by everything that I said earlier. This receiver is still the best value for an 11-channel receiver out there. It's pretty much the cheapest one that you can buy. The fact that it broke, that my particular unit broke, it shouldn't dissuade you from, choosing this unit anyway. I believe it has a 5-year warranty, so I think, you're covered for a long time. And again, the warranty experience was quite positive for me. But those are my thoughts. But anyway, if you have any questions about the receiver, feel free to leave them in the comments. Really helps a lot if you can like and subscribe. Every like, every subscriber helps a lot. I'll see you in the next one.